Would you like to help me with the clapper?
Obviously.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome back to the MedCup Media Corner. And today we have a very interesting topic on the agenda, namely how to manage organizations in the medical field in today's society and the challenges that we are facing today. And therefore, I'm very happy to be joined by Sacha,
My pleasure.
who is the Head of Transformation and Innovation at the Brussels University Hospital, where he's involved in the work of unifying 3 major hospitals in Brussels. He also has a degree in biomedical engineering from the Free University of Brussels, ULC.
ULB, yeah.
ULB, sorry. And he's also a master in management from Vlerik and a history from working for companies such as Johnson & Johnson and McKinsey. And he has also studied medicine on the side. Sacha, welcome.
Thank you.
What made you choose management and a career in the field?
I'll try to summarize it. It's a long process, what we call process of life, of course, with opportunities and choices. But as you said, I started studying biomedical engineering. I've always hesitated between med school and engineering, found a bit of a mix between both. The master's was really biomedical engineering, having classes here at the ULB with med school students. So it was pretty much involved in the medical field, but from the engineering side. I was pretty much passionate about that. I think I would have wanted to, at that time, pursue a degree, a very technical degree in the US. For family reasons, I decided to actually stay in Belgium. I took the very last minute decision to study management. And in the course of events, I found the opportunity to work for a pharma company, for J&J, for a few years. But it was in the life science sector, obviously, but pretty far from what I really wanted to do. And the part of the healthcare ecosystem I really wanted to be involved in. So I decided to switch. I joined a strategic consulting firm where I could be involved in large variety of different projects in the healthcare ecosystem. I've worked for pharma companies, obviously, but also medtech, digital health. So all the digital health ecosystem with startups that are actually rising and growing all over the world at the moment. But then eventually I spent a bit less than a year working in global health. So in world public health organizations. And then I decided to take the opportunity of my current job. So to come back to the hospital sector for some reason. It might be surprising to some people here, but I've always loved hospitals, like the location itself. And that's it. That's the journey and the reason why I ended up working in management in a hospital. So it's a mix of, passion, I would say, dedication, but also succession of events that made me be where I am today.
Did you have some sort of career goal from the outset or when you started?
So, and actually it's something that is extremely different from med school students because, and the anecdote is at some point of my life, I shared my life with a medical doctor in training, and it was a bit of a misalignment in the way we would project ourselves because of course a medical doctor student has a clear path for the training part, of course. In all the hospitals he or she would actually be working. Well, from my point of view, I was more willing to explore many different things, to be traveling a little bit around the world. Like when you're a young graduate, young professional, still want to explore many different things. So I would say I could never project myself longer than 2 years ahead. So a clear career goal, I would say no. However, I was convinced that I really wanted to be involved in the medical field, and as I said, to the hospital sector. So hospital themselves intrigue me. They it's a mix of it's a huge company, a lot of different types of professions of jobs that you can find in a hospital, from obviously doctors, nurses, medical staff, admin staff, people that actually welcome the patients, the volunteers that help patients, that help to guide patients in the hospital. So it's a mix. It's a very diverse workplace. But at the same time, everyone in the hospital works towards the same goal, is to provide care to patients that visit our institution. So yeah, career goal, I would say, not very accurately, but with something in my mind that I knew that someday I would actually come back to.
You described why you like hospitals. Do you remember when you realized that you enjoyed or was intrigued by hospitals?
It's a good question. I guess it's in the course of my life where I visited hospitals. Obviously, as a patient, it's not always a happy visit or a positive one, depending on whether you go for yourself or someone else. It's a place that is full of emotions, but also full of values and it's a very human-oriented place, and people who are working in the hospitals are basically giving a part of their life to others, and that's something that is creating such an aura in the place, which I guess intrigued me in the course of my life.
And now you're very much involved in the work at the hospitals, namely in the process of unifying 3 large hospitals here in Brussels. Could you tell us a bit more about the process and your involvement in that one and the role of innovation and transformation?
Of course. So the Brussels University Hospital, so HUB, has been created about 2 years ago. And I would say we are facing 2 major challenges. The first one is by itself, unifying 3 hospitals. Merging 3 hospitals is as we would be merging 3 different companies, big ones. Like in total, we're more than 6,000 people working in the 3 institutions. So by itself, this challenge is a big one. But on top of that, you have to think that hospitals in general, and even more university hospitals, are facing major financial challenges. By law, a university hospital has to have a certain percentage of employed doctors, and in Belgium we have to deal with automatic indexation of salaries, which basically in 2022 led to an extremely important rise of costs. And most of the university hospitals have basically faced a declining financial situation in the past years. So it's a mix of both. Transformational challenge, because you unify three hospitals, and you also have to fight every day to stay break even, to stay in positive, because otherwise, if a hospital remains a company, although of course for most of people working here, it's not as if you would be working for a private company in pharma, etc. It's something else, but it remains important to consider financial obligations and management obligations, obviously. So the 2 of them together are a big of a challenge, for sure. And we have to, transformation, innovation, as you said, have to be involved in all the strategic priorities that we take. I think it goes from operational challenges, operational projects, to cultural shift and change in people and employees that actually work in the hospitals. Because obviously when you merge 3 different, I would say, cultural environments, obviously you have some clash at some point, and it's extremely difficult to make everyone feel that they belong to the same project, to HUB. I think it's a big challenge. I think we're progressing and moving in the right direction, but it doesn't go without day-to-day challenges and that we have to deal with. That's where transformation is important. And on top of that, you as a university hospitals, you have to keep innovation in your strategy. Of course, you have to be upfront in the innovative world, in the medical field. You have obligation for research, for training also, because as a university hospital, your doctors are the ones that actually or professors in university. So the mission of our hospital is not only providing quality care to patients, but also being involved in research and in teaching. And innovation is there, is rising from research that actually is in our university, in our hospital, but has to be involved in our decision process when we talk about projects, when we talk about strategy, where we want to be in 5-10 years. You have to include innovation for sure.
Sounds like a very interesting process to be a part of, and especially with your background, where you kind of get to match your various experiences. Where in this process do you enjoy yourself most? Where do you feel like you can use your skill the best, or where you're the most inspired?
What I enjoy the most in my role is the fact that it's so diverse. As I said, I would say there are 3 layers of what we can do on a daily basis. First of all, you have to think about the strategy of the group. As I said, where you want to be in next year, in 5 years, in 10 years, how you want to lead these strategic projects to kind of position your hospital in their healthcare world and ecosystem, because everything is evolving so fast with technology, with telemedicine, telemonitoring, with artificial intelligence that has to be developed in many different tools that we use at the hospital. So anyway, the ecosystem is evolving very, very fast. So you have to think to keep some space in your day-to-day work to think about those strategy. The second layer, I would say, are the projects that we lead. So my team, so I have a team of 7 project managers, and each of them is leading a variety of different projects within our group. And you have some short, mid, and long-term projects that you have to implement, that you have to lead to make them real, basically. And on top of that, the last layer of our of what I could actually be involved in on a daily basis are more the operational challenges and I would say emergencies or surprises that you have to deal with on a daily basis that are basically unexpected, but are important because in the end, as I said, a hospital is a company, is a massive company, and you have to deal with day-to-day issues that you have to solve as well. So it's very diverse, because then you are obliged to plan your agenda according to everything that I just mentioned, and it implies a diverse set of skills, of interactions, of and of tasks that you have to do. So I would say that's the thing that I enjoy the most. And lastly, which I should have placed at first, it's the environment. It's the fact, as I said, my office is in the hospital. Every day I come to work. I walk in through the main entrance of the hospital with the patients. And so in the end, the impact of your job, the reason why you come every day to the hospital is because you work in the hospital, and what you do is to improve processes and to make the hospital a better place. And so being where the impact of your job is actually eventually felt is very much enjoyable. And everything you do, you see the impact, the consequences. You see it real and live on your workplace. So it's
I can only imagine that's very rewarding and also perhaps inspiring to see and be continuously reminded of the importance of the work that one do. If I would force you to pick one of the 3 layers of the work that you outlined, which one would you pick? Because I obviously understand that you enjoy all parts, the strategic, the operational, but is there perhaps one of these layers you find yourself stronger, or where I don't know, your pulse raises a bit?
Oh, I don't have a joker, I guess, but because 3 of them are so important. I think where I got the most inspiration from, and it might be due to my background in strategic consulting as well, is the first one, because it makes you think out of the box. It makes you think, okay, how can I position myself? How can I position the hospital in a longer time frame? And for instance, we have our general hospital, Erasme, is gonna build a new hospital in about 8 to 10 years, just next to the current one. And so it makes you think, how is going to be the hospital and healthcare ecosystem in 10 years? Do we need to consider the same constraints and the same context than it is today? The answer is pretty clear. It's a no. Obviously, it's going to change, but how is it going to evolve? Nobody knows. So it really forces you to think out of the box and to take a true step back of your daily work, of your operational job, basically on a daily basis. That, as I said, everything that you have to deal with, the projects that you have to implement on the field, you have to take a step back and think, okay, how is all of this going to evolve? And how should we take strategic decisions to make sure that in 10, 15 years, we are at the right spot?
Incredibly interesting. You're obviously working in a very a workplace where a lot is going on, and where you also meeting a lot of people. Is there anything throughout your career that has surprised you?
Throughout my career?
Yes. So it could either be where you are now, but also from previous experiences, of course.
I think honestly, I'm still going to talk about where I'm now, and I've briefly touched upon that. But I think it's mostly the dedication and the values that people share at the hospital. Most of us, I say us because most of people working at the hospital have chosen that career because they had a clear motivation and objective. They wanted to work for healthcare. They want to work for patients. And when you go and talk to health staff, whether medical nurses and everyone actually who have contact with patients, their reality are patients. Their reality are healthcare. They're not directly feeling that they're part of a group of a company, or they have to think about, as I said, organizational challenges, financial challenges that the company is facing. They're there because their reality is a patient. I always make the comparison. A hospital is a company where people have two human relationships. They have their management relationship with their manager, with their superior, with their colleagues. That's the case in any company. But they also have, most importantly, the human relationship with the patients. And that's what impacts their day-to-day life, or work life, I would say, the most. And so what has surprised me is really the culture and the mindsets of most of people working here. They're facing, as I said, huge challenges, but they're still keep their motivation high and work with these very important values in mind. And so that makes basically the workplace what it is today, and enjoyable.
Incredible. It sounds both inspiring and rewarding, I must say. Okay, so now we're going to switch up a bit. We have a different element, which is called something as straightforward as either or. And the idea is that you'll have 5 questions, and you're going to have to choose either X or Y.
Okay.
And I will also give you an out. So if you really can't choose between any of them, you can say both or none, but then I would ask for a very good motivation. So are you ready?
I am.
Perfect. So, coffee or tea?
Oat milk cappuccino, so coffee.
Cappuccino. The expected or the unexpected?
Expected.
Late night or early morning?
Early morning. Definitely.
Carousel or roller coaster?
Roller coaster, 100%.
Interesting. Comedy show or opera?
Comedy show. I love to love so much, so it's a comedy show for sure.
Good.
So no Joker.
No, but it was only one that surprised me actually, and that was the expected. But now that I think about it, the strategic outlook that you enjoy, perhaps it goes with the the expected, or trying to create an expected?
I think I'm trying to plan a lot of things in my life in general, and I like when things are expected. However, the unexpected makes, in the end, the fact that you take other decisions.
Yeah.
And I think where I am today is for sure unexpected by essence. As I described it at the start, like the choices I've made in the last 10 years, most of them are unexpected.
If we look back at your career, is there any event or any moment that you think could have impacted you in particular? And perhaps it's one of the reasons why you're here today.
I wouldn't say career. It was more during my student life, I would say. So after my engineering background, I had initially planned to go and study radiation physics in the US. And basically 2 weeks before going, for family reasons, my dad fell sick, so I decided to stay in Belgium. And that's where it wasn't planned. It was unexpected, if we come back to that. And so I had to take a decision, a very quick one, because it was already August and I wanted to do something in September. I was not mentally ready to start working because I was not going to work in the US. And so I decided to study management. Completely unexpected, but I did it. I enjoyed it. And that's when you see my journey, that's what makes me be where I am today. I wouldn't have worked in management consulting without the degree, and I wouldn't be there without my consulting background either. So I think it's, as I said at the start, it's a succession of events. And sometimes the unexpected part is even more rewarding.
So if I understand it correctly, you could have been working with physics currently.
Could I have worked?
The studies that you didn't choose in America was within.
So it was a master of engineering. So I wanted to continue what I studied here in Belgium, but more even more in depth, I would say. And it was meant to be radiation physics, so nuclear medicine, nuclear physics applied to medicine. So treatment of cancer with radiation or diagnosis as well, depends a little bit. But yeah, that's what I liked the most back then.
Interesting. Yes, we can also turn this question around, which is very interesting, and ask, is there any particular moment in life or in your career where you feel like you've had a great impact?
A great impact? I think yes. So as I briefly mentioned, I've worked in global health. So for international health organizations. And I was involved in, let's say, defining and writing a global vaccination strategy during a pandemic for a healthcare organization that's actually having impact on, I would say, every country in the world. And so basically when the strategy was published, since I was involved in writing it, I felt that actually my job was meaningful, had a
real impact.
A real impact, indeed, yes. That was rewarding. Even it was not direct, I could see, I would say, the result of what I had been doing for a few months being published, and that was quite nice.
We look at the role you have today, and we imagine the young aspiring medical students who are competing in MedCup currently. What traits or characteristics do you think would be important to have if one would want to pursue a career similar to yours?
So to work in the management of healthcare organizations,
Indeed.
Which is the case, right? There are many doctors that actually end up working in the management of hospitals. I would say resilience. Nothing is happening the way actually you thought it would be. So you have to be resilient.
How would you define the resilience in this?
Resilience, I would say, be able to switch the idea to go from one ID to the other, or to switch the direction that you would initially.
It's a bit of flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility, maybe flexibility, indeed. That's very important because, as I said, the environment is very diverse. You have to keep a analytical mindset. That's very important. You have to deal with a lot of different insights, data, resources. So you have to have a strategic and analytical mindset. And I think to enjoy what you do, like otherwise you just leave. Like you have to enjoy what you do on a daily basis, and to be able to keep your motivation high.
And it seems also, I feel like joy has been a very important driving force when it comes to your career and how it has developed, which is very nice to see, I must say. Yeah, do you have any advice or something you would say to those who are here today or watching and who would want to do something similar to you?
I think in general, advice is on for your career. At least from what I could see. I would say don't plan too far. Don't plan too much your life. As I said, life is a succession of events that you can't predict. It's very naive to think that you would be able to predict and plan everything. It's never the case. So don't plan too much, because in the end you create expectations and it leads to disappointments. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Of course, if I'm talking to medical doctors, obviously to a certain extent, but in general, in the choices you make in your life, don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you're resilient enough, you're going to be able to come back on your feet and change if you need to. I would say something which I find extremely important. I'm not sure if you know about the Toltec agreements. There are 4 Toltec agreements, and 2 of them, one of them is always do your best. Always do your best. If you do your best, you can't really regret anything afterwards. And then do not take anything personally. In your work environment, whether being a medical doctor, working in management, or wherever you work, if you take things personally, it's going to ruin your motivation, and it can really impact the way you see yourself. Yeah, that's about it. It's very high level, of course, but I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Do you have any advice when it comes to achieving this? Achieving not taking perhaps criticism personally?
I think it comes with practice. I wouldn't have told the same if you have spoken to me 5 years ago. I think it really comes with practice, and in the course of your career, you make mistakes. You're afraid to make mistakes, you regrets, and then in the end you realize that it was not such a big of a deal, because in the end things keep going. You learn from your mistakes you make. So any advice, very practical. If you receive criticism or bad feedback, don't overreact directly. Maybe think of what you've been told, and think mostly, am I aligned with my values? Is what I've done aligned with what I really wanted to? If you're sure that everything you do, that you're fine with it, and that you don't regret, and it's completely aligned with your beliefs and your values, then of course you're never going to have a 100% agreement of people around you with what you do. But if you're fine with it yourself, that's okay. You can move forward.
Good, thank you. We've discussed like a hypothetical case where you could have gone studying engineering and continued on that path. But if I say you would have to choose a career path that is completely disentangled from management and medicine, where would you have been today?
It's a good question. Well, my first answer would be medical doctor, because that's something I've had in mind my whole life. But apart from that, I would say in the hotel or restaurant world, I've opened a restaurant with my brothers, I think like 2.5 years ago. It's a franchise of a poke bowl place. And I basically took 2 months off from my previous job to open it. On a daily basis, I was in the restaurant, helping my brother, managing everything,
Incredible.
being there in the kitchen, being there welcoming clients. And I think my affinity towards food is extremely important. Food for me is one of the most important things in life, and I love restaurants. And running one and being able to take this 2 month break from work, although it's actually a true work as well, even more intense physically, to be honest, has made me realize that it's fun. It's fun because it's dynamic. You move all the time, and you do things for clients that are coming at your place to enjoy their food, and then in the end, everything you do has also a direct impact on people you actually see in front of you. So I would say hotel or restaurants.
Yeah.
Somewhere else in Belgium, probably. Somewhere sunny and warmer.
This is
Although I
very,
love Belgium, of course.
of course. But this is very interesting because it feels like it's complementing your like long sight, foresight, strategic vision, and then we have this where your impact is immediately seen. The dish comes out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's an interesting combination. Perhaps my next question is also a bit touched upon here because I'm also wondering, when you're not working, what do you do? But perhaps you're actually working, but at the restaurant, or do you have other interests outside?
Not anymore. I think you could see me at a restaurant, but eating. For sure, something I do a bit too often, I would say. Otherwise, sport. I play basketball now for almost 20 years. I joined the field hockey team recently. I enjoy running, going to fitness. So sport is a major part of my life too. And traveling. It's a bit cliche, but honestly, I think I feel so empowered while I'm being abroad, and mostly I would say Spain, the south of Europe, which I like very much. I just enjoy it, and being somewhere else, meeting people from different countries, from different culture, speaking different languages. That's something I enjoy very much.
Yeah, and you speak quite many languages. It was
yes, I love it. So any opportunity I can take to learn a new language, I would take it.
And today you speak
French is my mother tongue, as you can hear probably. English, Spanish.
That's why
Spanish,
south of Europe.
Of course.
Yes.
And as a good Belgian citizen, I have a decent level in Dutch too. And I had to learn German when I was working in Switzerland, but I think I forgot it. So could come back someday, but it's extremely interesting language, but not the easiest to learn, I would say.
Opening a restaurant in Berlin, and then you'll have German as well. Okay, so if we look forward, do you have any goal you're working towards now? And of course, it doesn't have to be a 6-year term, but something you're looking forward to and seeing yourself doing.
An honest answer would be no. I don't have a clear goal. I think I very much enjoy what I do today. I guess the next opportunity will come at the right time. I think I like my job because it offers me, as I said, a diverse set of skills, of tasks. So it's very, very diverse in that sense. So I guess the next opportunity work-wise would be similar. Could be still in the hospital sector, which I hope, or any other healthcare ecosystem, let's say, part. So I would say, I don't know, but as long as I enjoy it, I would stay here. Maybe finding an opportunity abroad at some point, because I still have that willingness to spend a part of my life abroad. But that's it. No clear goal, which makes things unexpected and also enjoyable as on a roller coaster.
as on the roller coaster.
Exactly.
A good finish on a very nice discussion. Thank you for joining us, Sacha.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.